Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Florida Weather Watch. My name is Daniel, and I'm the owner of the Florida Weather Watch YouTube channel. And I would like to thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon or whenever you're watching this video for your latest weekly weather forecast for the state of Florida for the dates of April 16th, which is today, to April 22nd, which will be this upcoming Saturday. Before I continue, please hit that subscribe button below. Something I noticed is that many of my viewers are not currently subscribed to my YouTube channel. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button below and hit that notification icon so you can get alerts when I do post videos like this one. Also, please go ahead and hit that like button to let me know that you appreciate everything I'm doing, and hopefully that you are enjoying the content that I'm delivering. One thing that I do want to make clear is that my comment section below is always open. And if you have any suggestions to make these videos more engaging and to make these videos more interactive, please leave a comment down below. I'm always open to comments and criticism and feedback, so please do so. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into your weekly weather forecast. Well, first of all, to all of the people that are in the Fort Lauderdale area, I hope that you are drying out. I hope that you are recovering from the historic flooding that we had on Wednesday afternoon across much of Broward County, where parts of Fort Lauderdale got, within a 3-day span, parts of Fort Lauderdale got up to 30 inches of rain. And to put that into perspective, ladies and gentlemen, that is half of the yearly rainfall total typically for Fort Lauderdale in 3 days. But let's go ahead and get into this week's forecast. We're going to have a cool front. I call it a cool front. I'm not calling it a cold front because it's honestly not going to bring cold air. It's just going to modify the air and make it more comfortable for a couple of days across Florida. That's going to be our start to the week. And then you're going to see a very defined temperature difference between the west coast of Florida and then the east coast of Florida. Well, actually, with my camera, it's going to be the west coast of Florida this way, the east coast of Florida this way. Because of a consistent east coast breeze that will set up, that will allow it to be more mild and warm across the east coast, and it will get very hot across the inland and western areas of Florida this week. And I'm going to get into about an El Nino watch. Many of you may have never heard of that before, but we are finally out of a 3-year La Nina event, and now we are into getting into an El Nino event, and I'm going to explain what that means and what that looks like. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at what's currently going on, because what's currently going on in the atmosphere is very interesting. So this is the satellite imagery for the Gulf of Mexico currently. And what you're going to notice that really, really sticks out right now is this large area of showers and thunderstorms. This is called a mesoscale complex. What that means in weather terms is a cluster of thunderstorms. A cluster of thunderstorms that forms on a line typically and starts speeding from west to east. And you're going to see that this is a pretty large cluster of activity here. There's where these reds are right here. This is where your thunderstorms are going to be. And all this green area back here, all that is just the tops of the thunderstorms getting sheared off. There's probably not much in the way of rainfall behind this. But what you're going to notice is that this is starting to speed across the Gulf of Mexico here, and in time it will be coming into the west coast of Florida, probably by later this evening. Right now I'm recording this video at 2:40 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so probably by about 5 to 6 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time is when we are going to see this starting to come ashore, if it holds. And I say if it holds because not always do we see these complexes of thunderstorms over the Gulf of Mexico last, because they require different energy and different processes to maintain themselves. But when we go ahead and check out our radar view here, um, if it will load for me. Oh, that's probably because I don't have my arrow thing here. Okay, so when we check out our radar view here, you can kind of see off to the side of the screen here. You can see uh, where that shower thunderstorm activity is. You can see it right here off the side of the radar. The reason why it looks like this is because radar goes up. So radar is going to go up as it goes away from the radar site. So you see this green circle here? That is the radar site. So it sends beams out in the air, and what happens is when the beams that get sent up by radar hit rain, it returns back to the radar and tells the radar, number one, that there's rain there. Number two, what is the rainfall rate? So how many rainfall droplets are in the air? And that's how we get these colors here on radar. What these colors are telling the radar right here is uh, how much water is there in the atmosphere, and in what direction is it moving, stuff like that, and it returns back to the radar. So you're going to notice that there is a complex of, there's a line of showers and thunderstorms that has really popped up over Orlando and the Kissimmee area, and there is a marginal risk that some of these storms today could produce damaging wind gusts and even some hail at times. But this is the radar view. So most of the action today will be concentrated on Central Florida, but then it will translate down to the South Florida late tonight as it gusts out. So that is the current view. Now, let's go ahead and look beyond this. So today and tonight, across the central and southern peninsula of Florida, you can expect some gusty showers and thunderstorms tonight. It's not going to be an all-night event. It's not going to last for many hours like Wednesday and Thursday's events did. So let's go ahead and switch to what's going to happen. Okay, and what I'm going to be looking at is the American model, the GFS model, right here. And the GFS model is the American model, so it tells it was made in America, obviously. And what this view is telling you is where the rain is going to be, how heavy it's going to be. So what it shows is it shows the thunderstorms over the Gulf of Mexico here. It shows our thunderstorms developing over Central Florida here. And by 8 o'clock tonight, this is what's called universal time. So the way that you can tell what time it is here is you subtract 4 from this, so that's 20. And then you just convert that into from military time to Eastern Daylight Time. So 20Z, that is Sunday night at 8 p.m. Just a little trick that I know of for this. And it shows a bullseye of showers and thunderstorms over Palm Beach and Broward County, where Broward County definitely does not need any more rain. So there could be some brief heavy thunderstorms with some gusts across South Florida this evening. And then it starts clearing out as it loses the energy of the daytime. And by Monday morning here at 8 a.m., maybe seeing some lingering showers because of a kind of a cold front here. It's kind of hard to see on this view, but you see this red line down here, and you see how it curves up this way, and then you see how we have these, what you call it? Let me go ahead and show it this way. You see how we have the isobars curving like this right here? Okay, these are called isobars. It tells us where pressure is. Okay, so notice how they are curving there. And then I want you to see here, I want you to notice here that I'm going to do it in a different color here. We have these red lines here, these red dotted lines that are like this, coming down this way. Okay, terrible drawing, I know. Okay, so again, we're going to have it like this. Okay, like this. And notice that we have a high pressure center. There's a high pressure center that is over, 1 second. We have a high pressure center that's over the over Louisiana. So what this shows, this is a typical view of a cold front. So where do we have our cold front? Well, if you look at the lines here and how they are curving like these lines here curving like this, that means that your cold front is right about here. Okay, so you have a cold front right about here. So what you're going to notice is on the back side of this cold front, if you are in northern Florida, is that you're going to have drier air coming in from the north here. So by tomorrow morning, you're going to have drier, cooler air coming in from the north in this direction here. That's going to push this front down through South Florida and provide some drier air. And pretty much what that's going to show is that for the rest of the week at this point, after tomorrow, where we could see some scattered showers uh, in the southern half of Florida from this front, drier air will come into Florida here. So this is how we can kind of look at a model and see where our cold fronts are. You look for where these lines are curving like this off the coast. You look for it to see if there's these red lines here, which is the mid-level heights, which is at the middle of the atmosphere here. And if those are curving down and have like this, and you have high pressure that's off to the west, actually with my camera view, the west will be this way. Um, you're going to have a cold front. And that's the way that you see on these models how you can find where that is. So as I go ahead and go through time here, you're going to notice as I step through time, Monday, lingering showers over South Florida, but then it clears. And then we have Tuesday, clear day across all of Florida on Tuesday. No action on Tuesday as high pressure really takes control. And remember my educational video that I had several weeks ago about the differences between high and low pressure. High pressure causes the air to sink down to the surface and pushes moisture away. Okay, that's what high pressure does. So high pressure is associated with good weather. And as we go through time here, what I want you to notice though is as I go through time here, high pressure starts settling off here over near the Carolinas here. So I want you to notice how you have high pressure. So let me circle it right here, right here. And what that means is, remember, high pressure, the winds go clockwise in the atmosphere. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to have these winds rotating around this way, around the high pressure system here, into Florida from the west side. Okay, you could actually even tell based upon the way the isobars here that there's going to be easterly flow coming across the eastern part of Florida. What that's going to do is it's going to keep the temperatures cooler. You're going to have milder temperatures across the eastern parts of Florida here. But then when you get into the inland and western parts of Florida here, that's where you're going to see some much hotter temperatures. So where you see the red here, that's you're going to be your hottest temperatures during the week. The yellows are going to be milder. They're still going to be warm. Don't get me wrong. They're still going to be warm, but it's not going to be as hot. It's not going to be temperatures that are going to be in the 90s like much of the western and inland parts of Florida are going to feel. Okay, so that's what's going to really dominate our weather. What's really going to cause our weather pattern here is this area of high pressure that builds in, back behind it, bring an easterly flow across Florida, and then as we step up into Friday here, some lingering moisture starts coming in from the Gulf, from the Bahamas here. It's nothing to be too concerned about. There may be some scattered showers. These would just be showers. There's nothing that indicates there's energy for thunderstorms here. On Thursday afternoon across South Florida. And then Friday, again, that moisture lingers around South Florida, maybe causing some more scattered showers. Nothing too severe. And then by the weekend, we'll be keeping an eye out on this cold front that's developing, the storm system that's developing in the southeast United States. I need to wait to see some model consistency before I start getting worried about this, because there is a potential that as this cold front does come down south, it's going to have a lot of energy. It could cause severe thunderstorms, but that's way too far out. Again, we're past 100. We're at 156 hours out at this point, and at that point, model guidance becomes a little bit less reliable. So the next thing I want to focus on is our temperatures, and I want to show you the temperature divide here. So this is going to be for actually, I don't really need to show the southeast view, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom into Florida so you can get your actual temperatures. So let's go ahead and take a look at the temperatures. Again, the timestamp is at the corner here. This is for Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Sorry. So when we look at this, this is for Sunday afternoon. You're going to see widespread temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, even 90s around Orlando here today. That's ahead of the front that's going to be coming down. And then I want you to notice now that as I go through time here, you're going to see that some cool air starts filtering down. Look at these 8 a.m. temperatures for tomorrow. You got temperatures that are in 52 degrees in Tallahassee tomorrow morning, 55 in Panama City, 61 in Gainesville. So this is kind of cool for this time of the year now that we are getting into mid to late April at this point. Still warm down in South Florida. And it's going to stay that way down there because cold fronts don't really have much energy this time of the year to stay down there. So as I separate through time here, you're going to notice tomorrow afternoon, not so hot. This is 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, whereas Orlando is going to be 90 degrees today, only 81 tomorrow, 78 in Tampa, 82 in Miami. So this is that cold front that's coming through that's going to knock temperatures down a bit. Not too hot tomorrow. Nice and comfortably warm tomorrow. So as I go ahead and go through time here, notice that by Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., we have widespread temperatures in the 50s across the northern part of Florida here. Pretty cool. Actually, all the way down to Tampa and Sarasota. You're going to notice temperatures in the 50s on Tuesday morning here. 63 in Orlando here. 65 all the way down to Port St. Lucie and 63 down to Cape Coral. Of course, with the influence of the ocean and high pressure down in South Florida, it's not going to be getting, it may likely not get down into the 60s, although I wouldn't put it past it. But very cool start for this time of the year in mid-April for Tuesday morning. Looking at widespread temperatures in the mid to upper 50s across northern and even parts of central Florida here. So that's what I'm talking about with this cool front to start. And then notice on Tuesday afternoon, temperatures start rising. 85 in Tampa, 87 in Sarasota, 86 in Cape Coral. But notice the entire entire east coast of Florida here. The entire east coast of Florida, temperatures are not going to be out of the 70s here. And again, that's because you have a cool area of high pressure that is going to be bringing mild air off the ocean here into the East Coast that is going to cause the temperatures to remain low. But then I'm going to change this over to red here. Yeah, not red because it's going to match the colors there. Let me go over to orange here. Okay, so then I want you to notice over here in the western and inland parts of Florida, how as this easterly wind comes over the state of Florida, you're going to notice that it is going to get hot. So I'm going to leave this on as I go through time, and I want you to watch the temperature differences here. Okay, at nighttime and in the mornings, it will be cool because there is a drier air mass in place. So dry air cools much quicker than moist air. So that's why you're going to see temperatures in the 60s in the morning and overnight. But then as soon as we get into the sunlight, as soon as we get sunlight, automatically getting into the upper 70s in the by 11 a.m. And then 85 at 2 p.m. in Orlando, 87 for Gainesville at 2 p.m. And then it just continues that pattern. As I step through time, again, hot temperatures out west and inland, cool temperatures in eastern part of Florida here are going to continue all the way into Friday here. Friday, it gets even hotter. You notice Gainesville, 90 degrees, Tampa, 87, Orlando, 87, So as we get through time here, you're going to notice that the temperatures are going to be much warmer and much hotter inland and on the west coast than on the east coast, where they're going to constantly get this easterly flow from high pressure over the Atlantic. Okay, so there's that with the forecast. So the bottom line with the forecast is after we get through a cold front that's coming through today and tomorrow, that could bring some gusty showers and thunderstorms and even maybe some hail. With some of those more intense thunderstorms, it clears out. It gets cooler for a couple of days and then it warms right back up. Now, the last thing I need to bring up is this. You may look at this graph and say, Daniel, what the heck are you showing us? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a graph that shows what's called the Nino index for Nino 3.4 index. Okay, and I'm going to try to explain this as best I can for all of you. Okay, so what this tells us is where if we're going to have a La Nina or an El Nino, and both of those are weather patterns across the globe that cause different changes in the atmosphere. So if the number on this graph goes from negative 0.5 or below, okay, you are looking at a La Nina. Okay. Now, by the way, this is from the Tropical Tidbits website. If you go to ocean analysis, you'll see it there. Okay. Now, let me actually redo that graphic. Let me make this look better. Okay. So, if you see a 0.5 or below right here, you are going to have a La Nina here. Okay. So, let me go ahead and redo this part here. And what a La Nina will typically do is cause more active hurricane seasons for the Atlantic and less active hurricane seasons for the Pacific. Now, the next thing is between negative 0.5 and 0.5 in this area, this is called neutral conditions. Okay. And anything that is above 0.5 is going to be your El Nino. And what El Nino typically does is it causes less active hurricane seasons in the Atlantic and more active hurricane seasons in the Pacific. Now, the thing I need to caution everybody about is even though I'm saying a less active hurricane season, that does not mean there can't be powerful major hurricanes in that hurricane season. It just means the frequency of storms will be lower. That means the number of storms that we get in a hurricane season when we get this El Nino happening is going to be lower. But when storms do form, it all depends on the time and the place of the storm. If the storm is in good conditions and it's favorable for development and strengthening, it will. So just because it says, and you're going to see this in the news and the media, where they're going to say, oh, there's an El Nino watch, which means less active hurricane seasons. Be careful. Don't let that set in your mind, because remember, for all of you that have been in Florida for decades now, I'm going to bring up one storm as the number one example as to why you never overlook an El Nino and why you never pay attention to forecasters saying a less active hurricane season. Hurricane Andrew. Done. If I need to say more than that, then you really are not a true Floridian, as far as being here for decades and everything. Because Hurricane Andrew back in August 24th of 1992 was the first named storm of the year in a year that had, I think, 8 storms. And it was the most devastating storm up until Hurricane Ian in Florida history. Okay, so what this blue line indicates to us is where it's an analysis of the ocean waters off the Pacific coast near Peru and Bolivia and all those locations. That tells us whether or not the waters are cooler there, which is going to be this La Nina section, or if it's getting warmer and hotter than normal, which is why this graph is increasing here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that right here with this graph. Okay, so what this shows is the sea surface temperature anomalies, the differences from normal in these areas here. And what you're going to notice here is I want you to notice particularly this area off the Pacific coast right here of South America. Notice how deep those reds are. That means you're getting very warm water that's circulating around here off the Pacific coast, and it's going to enter back into a loop right here that's going to bring all this warmer than normal water into the Eastern Pacific Ocean here. Now, I want you to also notice that in this area of the Atlantic right here, the Caribbean right here, and it's the main development region of the Atlantic, there's blues there. That means it's below average temperature water there. It's not to say it's not warm, or it's not to say it's not warm, but it's below average. And this is what El Nino looks like. And El Nino looks like this, where you have very warm, much warmer than normal waters off the South America coastline here. That's going to feed back into the Eastern Pacific here. You have cooler than normal waters across the Caribbean and the main area of the Atlantic here. Okay, and what that causes is typically the upper level atmosphere to be less favorable for hurricane development across this area of the world. That is why you typically get less active hurricane seasons, because when you have these cooler than normal temperatures right here, it supports more wind shear in the atmosphere, and more wind shear in the atmosphere, the less favorable it is for tropical systems. Now, the one thing I want to caution you about here is these are the current sea surface temperatures. And what you look for at this scale, and by the way, this is in Celsius, ladies and gentlemen. If you see temperatures right here, let me go ahead and draw my line right here. If you see temperatures that are 26 degrees Celsius or above right here, that is favorable waters for tropical storms and hurricanes to form, develop, and strengthen. So even though the waters are cooler than normal across the Caribbean here, they are still plenty warm for tropical activity. Obviously, that's not going to happen now because we are in April. We are nowhere near hurricane season. Hurricane season starts on June 1st, which is actually about 60 to 70 days away at this point. Actually, never mind, my math is way off. 45 days away. My apologies. But we are not anywhere near a position where storms are going to form yet. But I want you to notice that one thing that is kind of concerning to me right now is this tongue of warmer waters right here that's stretching into the Gulf of Mexico right here. That water is very warm for this time of the year. 27 degrees Celsius is like 81, 82 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way. And that would be plenty warm for any tropical activity. And as we get through the year, as we get through and things get warmer and warmer and warmer, this warm water is going to overspread into the Gulf of Mexico here. And the Gulf of Mexico is a place where I'm concerned about this hurricane season because it looks like there's going to be an active storm track over the Gulf of Mexico this year. I'm not anticipating much in the center of the Atlantic this year because of the higher wind shear values. But we really need to be vigilant here in Florida this year because of the threats from the Gulf that always exist. And with this warmer than normal water this year that is really built over the Gulf already, and it's already mid-April, that's one of my major concerns for this upcoming hurricane season, the Gulf Coast of the United States. But when we get to hurricane season, I'll cover that more. Okay. But the bottom line is, since we're going to an El Nino, that typically means less active hurricane seasons. That means less storms, but it does not affect the strength of the storms. And remember, just like Hurricane Andrew, it only takes one storm. So don't let your guard down this hurricane season just because it's El Nino. Keep vigilant, stay vigilant. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the ending of my video. Thank you very much for being here today and watching. Please remember to leave comments down below. I always appreciate comments and feedback. If you have questions, especially since I just introduced a whole new concept today with El Nino and La Nina, please post that down in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for future videos and future educational videos, please leave that down below as well. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, because many of my viewers are not subscribed. Hit that like button below. And without further ado, as my late great cross-country coach Jim Richardson would always say, there'll be weather, whether or not. But whatever the craziness in weather will be, I'll be here tracking along the way. Have a fantastic rest of your Sunday, and have a great week ahead.